So over the past few weeks, community members have submitted a wide range of thoughtful questions. We've condensed those down to about 9 core questions, and they've been asked of every candidate, and they'll be asked of Tina tonight. They'll be asked by different attendees on this call, just so it's not me talking all the time. And I just want to note, as you just heard, the meeting is being recorded. The full set, all 6 recordings will be available hopefully by this weekend. The second part about sharing the questions doesn't really pertain because Tina is our last candidate. If you're not already on mute, I'll ask you to put yourself on mute unless you're Tina. And so before we begin the questions, I'd like to invite Tina to introduce herself to the group.
Well, thank you, Maggie, and it's great to meet everyone. It's really a privilege to get to know you, and I hope we can meet in person sometime soon. So I want to open by just sort of saying, I'm a Jersey girl. I grew up in Plainsboro, and I'm a daughter of immigrants. My parents immigrated from India, and I really have to say I had this utopian childhood where it was filled with family, community, and all the opportunity that my parents worked on to give to me and my brother. Along the way, I decided I wanted to help people and serve people, and I became a physician. I'm triple boarded in internal medicine, pulmonary, and critical care, and actually practice in the district in the RWJ system in Rahway and sometimes in Newark. And I'll tell you something. What's been really interesting is that as doctors, we take this oath to do no harm. And what I've been experiencing, I think, along with a lot of healthcare professionals, is that we know exactly what to do to help the person in front of us, but it's no longer possible for us to actually do it. And I wanted to share, I took care of a patient in the ICU recently who came in with this life-threatening complication. He had diabetes and his sugar was like life-threatening high. So that's how he showed up in the ICU. And it didn't make sense because here is a guy who has a full-time job, has health insurance, takes care of himself, follows up with his doctors. And when I asked him what happened, he said, look, I've been on this insulin regimen for a very long time. And all of a sudden, my insurance company said, we're not going to cover it. So he was rationing his insulin and using it every other day. And that's why he landed up sick in the ICU. So it's just, I'm watching that the US healthcare system is broken. And I'm also watching that we have a administration, the Trump administration, that's actively trying to dismantle healthcare even more. And it's starting to put people's health at risk. It's also starting to put us into debt. And we now have a member of Congress, Tom Kean Jr., that is just rubber stamping everything that Trump is doing. So as a doctor, I'm not willing to sit down anymore. I literally feel like I can't provide, the care that I was trained to do. And that's actually why I'm stepping up to serve my family, my community members of the 7th and run for Congress, because it's about time we have someone that, doesn't just say they're going to do things, but as a doctor, what we do is we diagnose and we fix. We diagnose and we fix. And that's exactly what we need in Congress now.
Great. Thank you, Tina. So I am going to pitch the first question, which is what in your background and experience makes you qualified to run for Congress? And I know it's kind of early, but what differences do you see between you and the other 5 running for Congress?
I think probably the most important thing is who's going to actually listen and spend the time and talk to everyone in the district and understand the diversity of challenges we're facing and, the diversity of things that we need so that we can just live good lives and, be the best parents or be the most productive in our businesses. So one of the things I want to I want to say that is really important to me is being that good listener. But as I mentioned, I'm a physician, and I'm going to bring the ICU intensity, being an ICU doc, exactly to this role as the representative member of Congress for the 7th district, which is that we don't have time to go it slow, and we don't have time to be like, okay, like we're going to bow over and just agree with whatever Trump wants to do. we now have Tom Kane Jr., who, basically has pulled out his stamp, and every single thing that comes across his desk, he just puts a stamp on it. It's as if he doesn't even know what's happening in our district. And this is where we really need someone that can step up and speak up. Now, I've served in the past 3 administrations. I served in the US Department of Veterans Affairs, and this is a place where sometimes it's really hard for veterans to see their doctor. They have long wait times. When I was at VA, I actually was able to streamline the way the doctors worked, and we were able to increase the ability for VA to see 18,000 more veterans in primary care a week. When I came back to Jersey, and I've lived outside the state as well, but when I came back to Jersey as a doc, I was really pissed that my patients are getting their MRIs denied, their life-saving medications denied. And I got to work with Herb Conaway and Vint Gopal, and last year helped bring a grassroots effort to fruition where we passed a bill that reins in insurance companies and takes them out of the exam room. And now they can't deny the care that they were denying before. And that went into effect this year. So I'm a person that's going to roll up her sleeves, probably just like all of you on this call, and get some stuff done, because we really don't have time to waste here.
Great. Yep, we certainly don't. I am going to pitch the next speaker as Dan Murphy. He's got a question for you.
Hello, Tina. This, as we all know, is one of the key competitive races in the country next year. So it's going to be very expensive. And of course, we know we're in a very expensive media market. So where are you going to be raising campaign funds? What will be the sources of those funds that you have raised and that you plan to tap? And then secondly, even though the county ballot line has been eliminated in New Jersey, will you be pursuing and relying on the endorsements of the Democratic county committees for campaign support?
Dan, these are great questions. Thank you for asking them. And I think it's clear this is a multi-million-dollar race. In fact, this is one of the top races in the country that could help us flip the House, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. This isn't about who's nice. We know that Tom Kane Jr. basically has just voted to gut Medicaid, right? I mean, he literally is out of touch. He doesn't even he's pretending that he's helping people, but he's not only going to kick off at least 350,000 New Jerseyans from healthcare. He's going to make it hard for all of us, because what happens when we go to the ER, doesn't matter how rich you are, but sometimes you get sick, and are they going to be full up, and are we even going to get seen in time? And that really worries me. So what I'm proud to say, Dan, is that unfortunately I hate this game, but I'm going to play the game. And in the first 24 hours, my campaign was able to raise 260,000. That's more than 80,000 more in the first 24 hours than any other candidate in this race. And I don't intend to take my foot off the gas. I'm fully aware of what it's going to take to beat Tom Kane Jr. And I'm going to prove it to you again and again that I'm that person that can bring in the money for that. Your second question about, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but your second question was about, how am I viewing kind of like the county party infrastructure and the township party infrastructure, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
how much will you be relying on endorsements from the party organization?
Yeah, I think it's really important, and it's independent of what happened with the line. The people that are really active, that are active like on the county side, active on the township municipality side in our party, have a lot to say about what's going on in the district and how we could fix it. And I think for me, this is a no-brainer. I've already begun, talking to every single county chair, and now kind of going through and getting to meet every town chair, because they're the ones that know the most about what's been happening and what we need to do when we get to Congress. So I think it's really important, and I plan on seeking the endorsement of every single county that I can get endorsed from.
Great, thank you. I would just add, Tina, not to discount the grassroots organizations,
Yes.
especially in this district, and people from outside the district. that have been coming in. Like, we've had our ears to the ground for quite a while now. So the next question, I think, is going to come from Merv Turner.
Oh, Merv, I think you're on mute.
Yep.
I am indeed. Thank you for that. Hello, Tina. Nice to meet you. My question is, what would your top priority be as a member of Congress, and how could you effectively pursue your goals as a first-term member of the House? And what committees would you seek to serve on, and why?
These are great questions. It's funny. I feel like you must have just talked to my mom, because she literally asked me this. But like, this is true, because we don't want to put anyone. We don't want to replace Tom Kane Jr. with someone else that's just going to be, a shell of a person that's sitting in the seat. I think there's a series of things that have been top of mind for me. First, the U.S. healthcare system is completely broken, and it's being actively dismantled even more. We now have healthcare that's very costly, and healthcare that's hard to access, whether or not we have insurance. So what I want to do is actually work on that first. I think we need to make sure that we protect access to critical treatments, including abortion. And I want to make sure that we cut costs so that when you're sick, you don't go into debt. You get healthy, and then you get on with your life. There have been these system issues with healthcare for a long time, and it's caused, it's basically failed us, whether we're the patient or whether we're the doctor or the nurse. And that's what I've been working my entire career on to solve, both at the federal level, at the state level, and as a doctor on the front lines. In fact, I'll be practicing in the ICU tomorrow, and I'll be experiencing it firsthand. The next thing that comes to mind for me is, it's funny. It's funny that science seems to be this word that's like a faux pas. But what happened to evidence-driven decisions and bringing back science? We need to do that. I mean, we have some of the most difficult challenges, both in healthcare and elsewhere, and we're making decisions based on tweet. I think that's ridiculous. Why can't we need to just bring back rationality, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand up. Unlike Tom Kane Jr., I'm going to stand up to Trump, and I'm going to advocate for us. I also think we should be leveraging technology to improve quality of life for people. And if given some time later, I'd love to share, but I recently stepped down as the chief medical officer of an AI company that wasn't taking over doctors or nurses' jobs, but was actually getting rid of their paperwork so that there could be more humanity when you see your doctor or nurse, and they could actually listen to you. There's so many things we could do with technology to basically cut the bureaucracy and the red tape, and we should do that. But above all, what I'm going to say here is that we need to bring the voice of the folks in the 7th loud and clear to DC. And one thing we've heard is that it doesn't even matter who you voted for in the presidential, there are no checks and balances on Trump. And what I'm going to do is flip this seat and then flip the House, and then we're going to have those checks and balances back. I think you had a second question that was what committees, Merv?
That's right. Yeah.
Top of mind to me is energy and commerce. And again, I'm a subject matter expert in healthcare. I practice. I've been an executive in a health system, and I've been in the federal government working on healthcare. And I want to deploy my expertise to make sure that we can lower the cost of healthcare. So I think this is the perfect place to really advocate and not bring change in 10 years, but bring change that people can feel immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I'll ask the next question, which actually is a combination of the two questions that we've asked other candidates, but it's basically the facts of this congressional district is that it is very diverse, from very rural Warren County to the more urban areas in Union County. And so what's your strategy to speak with all the demographics that are, or all the people that encompass the district? And also, as of June of this year, we have 20,000 more Republicans. We had 16,000 more when they redistricted. Now there's 20,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats in the district. And so Have you been able to look at the data and figure out what your winning strategy is to overcome the obstacles of diversity, in the district, and also just the numbers?
Yeah, I think your two questions, Maggie, are just pointing to like, here's the reality. Like, how are we actually going to win this seat and kick Kane out? And I'm telling you what I'm not going to do. What I'm not going to do is pretend that town halls aren't mission critical. What I'm not going to do is avoid talking to anyone and move my district office and then make it hard for people to park in the parking lot. That's what I'm not going to do. And that's exactly what Tom Kane Jr. is doing. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Isn't your primary job as a member of Congress to listen to your constituents and meet with them? I mean, what's the point of even trying to get reelected if you're not even willing to do that? So for me, I'm going to take every single opportunity that I can to talk to, and by talk to, I mean listen. And this is strange for me because you're asking questions, so I'm going to respond. But ideally, I would be sitting here taking notes and listening first. But that's the point. The point is, we need a member of Congress who's just as intense. And I'm an ICU doctor, so my apologies, but we want someone intense in this role who's going to try and listen to as many different people with different lived experiences as possible. And that's what I do as an ICU doctor. You don't get to choose whether or not you get that sick and you come in. It's people from all walks of life. It's people that are undocumented and documented. It's people that are, highly trained professionals like lawyers, and it's people that, don't have their GED yet. And that's the same application that I plan on, bringing to this role, because you're right. We have a diversity of lived experiences and needs, and we're going to have to put someone in there, and that's going to be me, a member of Congress that's going to try and advocate for the breadth of what we need for this district. And as far as thinking about what's happening now, we now have more Republicans that are registered in the district. I'm just going to say this, and I think all of you might agree, but people are not okay with Trump. I think people realize now, no matter who you voted for, that this wasn't the right way to go. I think we all got rocked when we looked at our retirements when all that tariff stuff happened in the beginning. People are not comfortable. They are not okay with the volatility, the uncertainty. And what we need to do is really talk to what the lived experience is. And I plan on talking to every single person, no matter what their registration is on their voter's card, and figuring out what they need so that I can represent them and advocate for that.
Great, thank you. Our next question is going to come from BC Conley.
Good afternoon, Tina. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tina, let's assume that the Democrats, you win your election, the Democrats take the House and the Senate 2026. What methods would you adopt or endorse to roll back some of Trump's policies? Would they potentially include impeachment and removal of Trump and some of his officials?
This is funny. It's like we have the same dreams at night, I'm going to use every single lever that is possible for me to have when I get there in Congress. I mean, I don't think there should be anything off limits, but what I am going to say is this needs to be done with integrity. What I'm not going to do is do something unconstitutional like Trump is doing right now, or rubber stamp it like Kane Jr. is doing right now. That's inexcusable, unbelievable. There's no going back. I mean, you completely lose trust of the people that you are elected to represent. So I think everything's on the table, but we need to go by the law on one hand and make sure that we use every lever we can to make sure that people don't get hurt in the 7th district. That's what I plan on doing.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so next up we have Ellie. She's going to ask a question. Ellie Sider.
Oh, 1 second. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again, Maggie and Tina. Nice to meet you. My question is, would you push for improving U.S. relations with NATO, the EU, and other allies, despite the Trump administration's disdain for those alliances?
100% yes. 100% yes. I mean, oh my God. It's so funny. Like, in what way, like what rock is he under that he thinks we're not connected to the rest of the globe? Right. I mean, I think this is insane. I think if you've like even watched the news a little, what we know is we're basically losing our ability to spread democracy and to make sure that people have freedom because we are bowing out of some of these trusted organizations. The reason why NATO exists, it's a success. Like, we haven't had World War III, and that's because NATO exists. So we really need to make sure that we participate because it's our responsibility. We're Americans, because we want to make sure everyone has the freedoms that we have. And even if we were selfish, what we would say is, if we want to make sure our own people have the ability to live a life where they don't have to worry about what it costs, right? What it costs to just buy eggs, or what it costs to raise your kids and send them to college, then we should actually care about what's happening everywhere else, because that's where we're connected. Our supply chains are connected. So 100% yes.
All right. Thanks, Tina. We have another question that's going to come from Merv.
Hi, Tina, me again. The big bad bill has passed, and there are people now who are going to lose their Medicaid benefits. There are people who will lose their food benefits. What could you do? What would you do to help those people who are losing those benefits because of this piece of legislation?
Oh my God. Well, what I'm thinking about right now, Merv, is that I'm running to be the representative of the 7th, but that election happens in more than a year. And what are we going to do now? That's what I think about, because tomorrow when I show up in the ICU, there is going to be somebody, most likely, that is either on Medicaid or has no insurance, and we get to enroll them into Medicaid, and then they can get all the care and treatment they need when they leave the hospital. And now I'm thinking, like, what are we going to do with people like that? And I think the first thing is, we should have never passed the big ugly bill. I mean, Tom Kane Jr. it's so strange. Like, how is this man okay with hurting people in the district and hurting his neighbors? Because that's exactly what he did. He's just allowing Trump and RFK Jr. to do whatever they want. I think the first thing is helping people understand how serious this is. And we need to put in someone in Congress that understands how healthcare works, that's literally worked on the front lines and understands what happens when Medicaid goes away. And there's only one doctor running in this race. It's me. And I want to bring the stories of my patients, our families, our community members to the forefront. This is an example of having no checks and balances on Trump right now. And when we have the majority of the House as Dems, we're actually going to hold not only Trump accountable, but RFK accountable as a Secretary of Health and Human Services. And I think there is a lot that can be done there to try and expand coverage. And then we need to legislate as well. But I think having the understanding of what can be done at the state level and what can be done at the federal level and moving as quick as possible is going to be key here. Because it doesn't matter who you are and how rich you are, the fact that Medicaid got cut is going to impact us all in a negative way.
Thank you.
Yep. So, Tina, the final question will come from me, and it kind of just changes the subject matter, but the same question that Merv just asked. And it's about what you could do to protect New Jersey's immigrants from being arrested, detained, imprisoned, deported without due process or criminal convictions. What would you do in Congress?
One thing that makes me want to throw up is the fact that we just 10x'd the funding for ICE. I mean, what that means is we literally have decided, the problem is ICE is turning into a vector where it's a vigilante group that's literally trying to oppress people that live in this country. And that's never what it was intended for. So I think part of this is putting checks and balances back in on the executive branch. And that's exactly what Congress should have done. And we didn't see Tom Kean Jr. do that at all. In fact, he was like, okay, let's go ahead. And we all know that what's happening right now is that innocent people are actually getting detained by ICE. They're not even being given due process. And when I'm the member of Congress representing the 7th, I will make sure we return back to the letter of the law, because that is the right of anyone in this country to have due process. And we really need to rein in what's happening and stop Trump. And Tom Kean Jr. is just not doing it.
Okay, I don't think you'll get much pushback on that. But that does conclude our predetermined question. So we want to thank you for running that gauntlet. And what we've done with other candidates is just open it up to people here to ask questions that they didn't, that we haven't asked and that they'd like to hear from you. So anybody on the call that wants to ask a question, you can raise your hand or you can pop it in the chat as well. I see Merv. Merv's got a question.
Yeah, Tina, Tom Kean Jr. is a notoriously slippery brute. We know how he's going to run. He's going to sit tight and say nothing. And he's going to let his pack do the dirty work. They'll be coming after you on YouTube ads, targeted adverts. And he's just going to go around. He's going to meet his supporters. He's not going to engage. He won't debate. What are you going to do to flush him out? How can you catch someone who's not prepared to advance across the ring and deal with you?
Yeah, to be honest, I can't wait to have him on stage. But we all know, as you said, Merv, he's going to do everything he can to avoid, actually speaking to anyone that votes for him, or doesn't vote for him. I think what's clear with this crowded primary is that everyone knows that Tom Kean Jr. is vulnerable. We know that this district barely went towards Trump. We know that people are not accepting the status quo, and we want to capitalize on that. And my approach is honestly going to be twofold. One, I'll do whatever it takes to beat Tom Kean Jr. And I think one thing that's cross-cutting is health. It doesn't matter, if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Every one of us doesn't want to think about healthcare and wants to live our lives. And so what I'm going to do is demonstrate what I've done my entire career, which is, as a doctor, diagnose and fix. And I'm going to do that again and again. And I'm not going to shy away. I'm not going to shy away from talking to people. I'm not going to shy away from podcasts. You mentioned YouTube. Looks like we're going to be blowing up YouTube soon, Merv, all thanks to you. This is about being loud and being out and about and helping people understand that I will do whatever it takes. If I have to work across the aisle, I'll do it. If I have to say something against President Trump, I will gladly do that. And we've seen that Tom Kean Jr. doesn't. So we need someone that's a fighter. We also need someone that understands how federal government works. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with my track record.
Great. Thanks, Tina. Riley has a question.
Hi, thanks for being here. Appreciate everything you were saying about how healthcare is your priority. I was wondering if, as a member of Congress, if you'll support Medicare for all.
Yeah, I remember when Obama came out talking about this. I think it was really hot at that time. And I think the bottom line is the system we have right now is a system where insurance companies keep making profits literally at the expense of people dying. As in, they take your money, you pay premiums, and you still can't get the care you want, and your care gets delayed, and it hurts you in the end. And we now have Tom Kean Jr. cutting Medicaid, which serves our most vulnerable and really impacts every single person in New Jersey. So what I'm going to tell you is, I think we have the American spirit of competition and diversity of having more than one option when we buy something. But what we've done poorly is set guardrails. So we have these insurance companies just running rampant. Now, I think we need to continue fostering the spirit of competition because it should give us better products, better insurance. But we need to set the right guardrails. And what it takes is someone that understands the nuances of health insurance to set those guardrails so that you can't buy a crappy plan that puts you in debt when you have some little thing happen that's out of your control. So I think Medicare is an excellent program. And what I'm going to be advocating for is making sure that we have enough options of solid plans that are affordable. And that's something that Tom Kane Jr. doesn't even know how to handle.
All right, thank you. Rebecca has a question.
Awesome. So we've been talking a lot about like healthcare. And I was just curious, what specific steps would you take, if any, to advocate for policies that ensure transgender individuals in our district, have access to comprehensive and affordable healthcare, including like gender affirming care and like even for the LGBTQ community in a broader aspect?
Yeah, I think this is insane that the Trump administration is rolling this back. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's transgender and actually works in the federal government. And what he was describing, he works in Health and Human Services. What he was describing, it was shocking to me. Not only are we trying to make it impossible for someone who's transgendered to get basic healthcare or culturally competent healthcare, we're literally trying to root out transgendered people. That's what the Trump administration is trying to do. And Tom Kane Jr. is just endorsing it and allowing it to happen. Every single person that lives in our country deserves to have access to appropriate, good healthcare, including transgendered people and everyone in the spectrum of the LGBTQIA+. I hope I didn't miss anything. And, as a doctor, like, this is insane. Like, no politician belongs in the exam room. It's the patient and it's the doctor and the nurse and whoever else the patient wants to bring in the room. I don't know any patient that wants to bring in a politician. Let's kick them out.
Well, great. Merv, you have another question?
I do. Yeah.
We're glad for it, Merv.
Okay. Tina, it's great to see on this call that we've got a couple of people who are at least 60 years younger than I am. That's wonderful. And my question really is, how are you and how are we going to energize the youth vote?
Well, I think it's really interesting. We have, I'm thinking about what just happened in New York City. We had Andrew Cuomo, who basically raised so much money, and then what he did was put it into TV.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the old way to run a campaign. It's not okay now. It's not okay to hide behind your name nor behind a TV ad, which is exactly what Tom Kane Jr. is doing. I think what's most important is to acknowledge that social media platforms is where all of the information is being shared and digested, and we can't ignore that. In fact, it may be even more important now because it moves at light speed, unlike our traditional ways of getting to people. So I know this district has a majority of registered voters older than age 50. And that still doesn't mean that you don't prioritize every single person whose lives are going to be impacted by a member of Congress that's not doing his job, which is Tom Kane Jr. So I plan on looking at every single outlet that I have at my disposal to try and get access to, to people that are, what did you say, less than 60 or 60 years younger?
60 years younger. Yep.
Yeah. This is like a no-brainer. We're going to go to every single place that people in the district are. It's going to be college campuses. It's going to be going to, to neighborhood parties, and it's going to be equally valuing every single person, no matter what their age is.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any more hands raised. So this is last call for any other questions for Tina. All right. Well, Tina, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for answering all our questions with intelligence and compassion, which I think a lot of us here feel is, missing from our government. Merv is just a really inquisitive guy, and he's got his hand up again.
Sorry, actually, that was just an applaud emoji that I sent up on the screen. But I would be interested to know what Tina thinks of The Pit.
Oh,
the TV
television show?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is interesting. As a doctor, I'm kind of like, I don't want to get traumatized again. I can't watch these shows. It has to be, I'm okay watching Grey's Anatomy because it's completely not what my life is like as a doctor, but The Pit is a little too close. So what I'd say is, I'm glad you're watching it. Maybe you might have some compassion towards me if you see me in like 2 days and I'm looking real tired. But healthcare is real. It's hard. It's challenging. It's challenging for the people that seek access to get better, and for the people that are working there and trying to be the healers. And there's a lot of low hanging fruit that we have that we can solve for. And then also, like selfishly, I wish I was on the show.
Yeah.
I wish I was. It'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. So, Merv, you sure you're out of questions?
I'm out of questions, Maggie. Yes.
Okay. So, team, just so you know, Merv is my co-founder in OneNJ7, and a lot of people on the call are members of OneNJ7 as well. But again, we want to thank you so much for showing up and answering our questions with compassion and intelligence. And we'll be in touch with you in your campaign about a forum in the fall. So we wish you all the best as you get through the summer, and we'll talk to you in the fall.
All right, sounds great. Well, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity. I'm definitely taking to heart how important grassroots organizations are, and I look forward to being a partner in this to kick Kane out.
Great. All right.
Great.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you. Thank you,
you.
Tina.